Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. With new Hanzo being one of the best DPS heroes in the game, I thought now was a good opportunity to sit down with pro player and streamer Mendokusaii about how to play the new iteration of Hanzo. Let us know your tips for new Hanzo in the comments below, and let's get started. So, first and foremost, introductions, who you are, your previous experience with teams and where you are currently, and why should people play the new Hanzo, because you've had a ton of fun on him so far.
My name is Lucas Mendokusaii. I'm a professional player for Outlaws, but I guess I'm more like bench Kusai because I'm not really an active player on the roster. Hanzo has been my most played character since closed beta by like a lot because I've just been spamming that character and I've been playing him a ton since the rework. And honestly, you should play Hanzo because he has the sickest skins and he has a very low time to kill, and you can piss people off by just headshotting them across the map and then tilting them for a free win.
That's probably the most eloquent answer we've had to why they should play a certain hero. I'm sure they'll be received really well. But that kind of raises us on to the next sort of thing, right? Hanzo has changed. The way that new Hanzo plays is really interesting. How good is the new Hanzo?
I think the new Hanzo is like, he's really good and really strong, but not because he's like overpowered in the same way a lot of characters have been on release. Like in a lot of situations, I really miss Scatter. Like a lot of situations, like I get dived by Monkey or Divas and stuff, but like versus good tank players or versus Tracer, Scatter has always been such a good ability to use for just one-shotting. Like the bullshit that you just shoot on the ground and then Orisa's fucking full health to 0 and she's just gone. She's deleted. That doesn't happen anymore, and that allows for more reactionary gameplay by the enemies and like more peeling and just more like rotational gameplay to avoid playing in the line of sights that you play. But I think he's better now than before simply because he has a more consistent performance, because he's as good as he was before when he was playing well, but he's now more consistent at that level. So he's very good. His rework really added on to his kit. I think the biggest and most like fun and interactive change they did was his space, because it allows for disengaging, engaging, peeking corners, and pre-firing and getting picks based on like game sense and game knowledge. But his E really allows for consistent gameplay, and that's like the biggest reason why he's doing so well right now, is because really good Hanzo players will consistently do well on him. He's really owning and dominating in high SR ranked because a lot of people don't really know how to play against the Hanzo. Because Grappling Hook Widowmaker has like a very easy to predict cooldown, and Widowmaker is a one-shot kill, it's a sniper, right? But so is Hanzo. The thing is, Hanzo can climb walls and he can peek at a lot of corners, and like he can like jump and dash around a corner, just like appear suddenly and you're dead. And having to keep track of him, track his cooldowns, and track his potential mobility is way harder than anything you've ever experienced in this game before when it comes to snipers. But a Hanzo now pushes out consistent damage and consistent threats because he spams shields very efficiently, and he also looks for picks very efficiently. And that sort of gameplay where you can play it very aggressively but keep your space for defensive purposes in terms of disengaging and surviving allows for consistent pressure, consistent pick ability, and then just forcing enemy players out of position and killing them very easily.
It's a bit of an iffy situation currently because you have Brigitte changing up what heroes are good and what heroes are not as good anymore. I think most people would accept the Hanzo is better, but is he better in a sense that he is now almost a must pick? Maybe not quite must pick levels, but like, is Hanzo now one of the most viable DPS heroes in the game now? Or is it still like Genji Tracer, that kind of level of hero?
I think right now, the comp that's like the strongest in terms of having a good team is triple support Ryan Zarya and then one DPS. And I think that DPS slot is always going to be a Widowmaker, a Hanzo, or a Junkrat. Occasionally, you might swap out the Zarya to a Widowmaker too, depending on the map and stuff. But I really think that like those are the three best DPS right now because of Brigitte armor and like just like tank busting, burst damage, and then zoning abilities such as Hanzo ult and Junkrat ult. But with playing both a lot this season, I think that Junkrat is a little bit better than Hanzo in terms of like strengths of each individual character. But I think people can find more success with Hanzo because the changes are new and people don't really know how to play against him yet.
So you've kind of highlighted some of the major strengths of new Hanzo. Are there any others that you really wanted to highlight? Because it sounds just that consistency is the main thing. And not only that, like his projectile speed's gone up too. So overall, he's a more well-rounded hero. But where exactly is he the most strongest?
I think he now plays a role that's like, if you're good at this character, you can play him pretty much anywhere. Like, I have a really hard time finding a situation where I can't make him useful or above useful because I have so much experience on Hanzo and I've played him so much. And especially now that grinding the new one is like a change that I naturally like adapted to really quickly because I think it resonates with my playstyle and ability really well. And I think he fills that sort of role now without scatter, that he is more about consistently pushing out damage, consistently bursting down tanks, or consistently getting picks depending on like positioning of maps, right? Where before, scatter and Hanzo used to all be about, yo, damage boost me, I'm gonna scatter the shield, or damage boost me, I'm gonna scatter the tank, or I'm gonna try to scatter a small room and get a pick, while you just spam choke points and hope you get a pick because the shield isn't there or someone's peeking or something. But now he's more of a skirmisher instead of like a spamming from far back sort of character. Because before, I wouldn't really call him a sniper either. I would call him like, honestly, whenever I played Hanzo, even like competitively, it wasn't for his pick potential. It was for his consistent shield pressure, and like scattering a shield would just like break it down so fast. But now like the role he fills now is if someone picks Fire and Mercy onto you, you can kill them most of the time. You can kill a lot of tanks most of the time too. And that's only because like he has a more consistent damage output that isn't based off of like one cooldown that just bursts all the damage instantaneously. It's now a cooldown that gives you 6 shots that all deal equal damage, and you don't have to hit all of them to still be useful.
I mean, you said before that you miss scatter. Like, were the changes the right changes in your eyes? Like removing scatter for something new? Or were there other ways that Blizzard could have approached this? Because right now it seems that what they've wanted to do with the changes has been a major success, right?
Yeah, I actually think that the changes for Hanzo were really good. But I think like maybe his numbers need to be adjusted a little bit.
He seems to get his ult very quickly. That is one thing that I will say.
If you think about it like this, when Tracer was played a lot, which was like last season, Tracer got her ult very quickly too, and you only got a kill with it if you really like positioned it correctly and used it correctly. And I feel like Hanzo ult is kind of the same thing, because it's very easy to avoid a Hanzo ult because you have the wind up period where you just like hear the Hanzo ultimate line, and then you like, okay, where is he most likely going to play that? And a lot of characters have defensive abilities or mobility based abilities where they can dodge that ult, and him having an ult per fight if you're doing well and getting damage boosted, I don't think is an overpowered thing, because generally I find myself to utilize my ultimates more in a way to either trap my enemies so they're easier to push by my teammates, or zone out half the team or split up the team in ways where our engages will be better than the enemy's engage. I think the changes are good, but I think like some numbers should be like adjusted a little bit. Like I think his storm arrows, like his E, should have damage fall off, so you just don't like shoot across the map and then headshot someone and they might die if there's like a damage boost on you. Like you have 6 shots that are fully charged, and spamming should have some form of damage fall off. I think one of the biggest things of like the recent changes that really allows him to adopt a different and new playstyle is his space ability. Like having that small amount of mobility to peek corners or disengage from tanks like Monkey and Diva are huge. Like if you want to be good at the new Hanzo, learning how to properly utilize and like not utilize it incorrectly is like knowing when to use and when not to use your space is a huge thing. Yeah, if I watch a lot of the Hanzo players and like the really good ones and then some of the decently good ones, the difference is like in playstyle is how they utilize space and when they have it and when they don't have it, how they get caught out by dives when they don't have space available, or how you live with half your health remaining after you get dived because of it. And like that's a big thing to be very conscious of.
That does raise me onto a really good point. Like, what other kind of mistakes do you see with players, not only with new Hanzo, but maybe the old Hanzo too? What kind of common things do you see, like even at your level?
I think new Hanzo mistakes are harder to see than old Hanzo, because like I think old Hanzo mistakes were mostly like playing the character when he's not good. Like playing him on defense versus dive was just like, oh, that's a really bad idea, because if you mess up or your scatter gets eaten or anything, you're just out of the fight and dead, guaranteed. But with new Hanzo, I think like the biggest mistakes is not really on the Hanzo players, but more towards the direction of like, whenever I play the Hanzo, right, I want to make sure I have shield pressure and damage output, and then I'm always asked for a Mercy to damage boost me as soon as I use my Storm Arrow on the enemy Rhine shield. Before, I would need a damage boost for like half a second on my scatter to like just utilize the full damage boost. But now I would need a pocket through all 6 shots, which is like 1.5 seconds of shooting into a shield, to really push out that difference in damage. Shield pressure matters a lot. If you win the tank fight, you're going to be able to use your next Storm Arrow on the tanks itself instead of the shields, and just like that damage boost really matters. But it's also not playing over aggressive, and it's not playing too defensive, and finding a good midpoint where you can get away with being really annoying, pushing out pressure and damage, and not dying.
Apart from all the time, like, where would you play Hanzo? Like, where is he actually really good in terms of maps, compositions? Where, if you see like the stars aligning, would you go, okay, we really need to play Hanzo here?
That's a little bit hard for me to say recently because I've played it on every single map. And I think it's more about how you utilize the verticality of the maps in a good way that allows you to play the character. Because you can charge up a shot and then peek and then shoot, and you can keep doing that and also jump backwards to sideways to peek corners and surprise people. And like the trick in utilizing this character on offense and defense are like a little bit different but kind of similar. It's all about how you utilize your storm arrows and when you have them available. Because if you're playing defense and they have a monkey, you want to make sure you have storm arrows to burst the shield and the monkey. But if you're playing on offense, you want to make sure you use your storm arrows to consistently break down their shield. Finding the situations where you can go look for a pick actively and you don't have to worry about pressure, and using those situations correctly is very big. Like if you charge up a shot, you hit someone in the like a body shot, and then you instantly storm arrow with a follow-up, that's a 2-shot kill instantaneously. And there's no real delay between the first charge up shot and the second storm arrow shot. So like when I started playing Hanzo this meta, I just went like super aggressive, and I just died a lot. And then like learning where I can like where the line is of overextending and aggressive play, it was really important, because now I know like, okay, I can go this aggressive and still survive by falling back after if they push me, and if I go more aggressive, I'll die. And finding that point of like that line of like where not to cross is the most important thing in order to like pressure the enemy team consistently.
As you've sort of highlighted there, you've played a lot, you've obviously learned stuff on the way. You've been a pro for a very long time, all the way back to the days I remember like IDDQD the team. With the new Hanzo, what have you learned playing him? Because you've grinded him out a lot recently, you've been streaming a lot of the new Hanzo, growing your channel and everybody's been watching. So what kind of main things have you realized and learned recently just because of the new Hanzo and how he plays?
That people in Overwatch love peeking when they shouldn't. Zenyatta players keep peeking you with the right click, expecting not to get hit, and then you hit them in the body and you just jump at them and shoot one more shot with storm arrow and they're dead. There are so many people that keep peeking. Ryan players that just like keep swinging and take 2 headshots, but like, oh, I'll be fine, I'll just hold my shield after, and you can jump into his shield and shoot him after. Like Overwatch players need to realize that it's like peeking a Widowmaker now with new Hanzo, because he can punish you without a headshot. And he doesn't, like, you don't have to track only scatter, but also storm arrow and his jump. Because I'd kill so many people that take a duel they shouldn't be taking, that take a peek they shouldn't be taking, or play too aggressively in positions where Hanzo can easily just like melt them down. He's not the same character he was before. He's not like useless unless he gets a lucky headshots or hits a scatter. He's actually a consistent force of like pressure now, and like a consistent source of damage. This might be going over something that you've already said, but what I found really interesting was the whole hitting them with a normal shot, you actually get them close to killing them, and then you use storm arrows as a way to try and like quickly finish them off, right? It seems straightforward now that you explain it, but is that generally how you would use this ability, other than, you know, destroying shields, damage boosted as you said, but more as a sort of spray and pray ability when somebody's low near where you are currently, I suppose? I never really use that ability as a spray and pray, because if someone's low, I personally have more success like half charging shots and hitting them, because I charge up and I react to their position or movement. But I use storm arrow as a way of like, I know I have full shot damage, and I know that I can deal a lot of damage instantaneously, and I make sure I have some form of plan before the fight and how I want to utilize my abilities. And if that is like, I'll always try to initiate the fight by hitting a body shot with a non-charged arrow, because then I'll get the information like, do they have armor? You know, like, does the Zenyatta have Brigitte armor, or are they just 200 health with shield still? And then like, oh, that means if I hit a body shot with no armor, that means I can probably go really aggressive, jump into him, use my storm arrows, kill him, and then go consistent damage on the main tank, and then have my team kill the main tank. And even if I die, the fight is won at that point.
Are there any other areas of just general Hanzo tips that, you know, there are people that obviously are going to flock to this hero, may have tried him a little bit here or there, but now that they can essentially one-trick him to an extent, now that his viability has gone up exponentially, what kind of Hanzo general tips would you give to somebody that may be either looking to pick up the hero for the first time, but also trying to get to a more intermediate level with him?
Ever since like day 1 of Hanzo release, people said he wasn't good, or he wasn't like viable and stuff. And I always thought like, dude, he has to be viable. He's like one of the characters that one shot in the head, and he can just spam and still one shot long range. But like the trick of me learning from the start isn't like, he's not just spamming and he's not just like shooting stuff. I really grinded him out in quick play, like before ranked even existed. hours and hours every day of just like learning the projectile speed, getting consistent to the point where like it would be like natural aiming for me, where like I hit more shots than I miss. I'm more confident in hitting a shot than I am in missing a shot. And like really putting the time into learning to utilize his projectile speed correctly is very important. It's not just like playing the character and pressing E and spamming the tank. It's really like knowing that like if you're in a duel at mid-range, you want to be confident in hitting those shots before you really start grinding him in ranked.
We haven't really asked that question. Is he OP? Is he too strong currently? Or is he actually just in a nice spot? Other than a couple of number changes here or there, as you mentioned.
Hard question to answer. Personally, I think he's in a good spot. And like in a month, he won't be as good anymore because people will have learned how to play against him. But he could also use like some number changes. Like, as I said, like I don't think Storm Shot should one-shot in a damage boost across the map. There should be some damage fall off to put the damage below 200. Maybe even some slight adjustments to the cooldown rate on his space, because I think that's a really, really strong and undervalued ability right now, which would change his viability because he would die easier and he would be easier to catch out of position when you take aggressive peeks. So I think like it's a bit of both. Like I think he's in a good spot, but people don't know how to play against him. But I also see like there are number changes and like differences that could make him a more viable, consistent character that is less bullshitty and frustrating to play against.
Real quick, I've seen double snipers certainly a lot more in my games, and it is a strategy that you see in the pro level. How prevalent could that be, if at all? And like other compositions, because you highlight the triple support, Reinhardt Zarya plus 1 DPS. Are there any other sort of strategies that you could see Hanzo being a part of?
I think double sniper works really well now compared to before. It was really good before too, but it's more consistent now. I was duo queuing with Kefri, and we had like a lot of success when he was playing Widow. And then even then, he's a player that swapped off on Zarya too, and we did really well just because of the Hanzo ult and Zarya ult combo. But the double sniper combo like specifically works well because Hanzo has consistency now and has like very good shield pressure, where Widow still has like the pick potential, but is very like easy to play against in terms of like you don't peek her, you make sure you're behind a shield and stuff. But they work together really well because Hanzo has the mobility to be able to shoot like a Ryan from behind, have the Ryan shield turn around, and the Widow can hit anyone else. Or just break the shield, or just like play aggressive, make sure they commit onto like a fight on Hanzo, and then Hanzo can survive with Pocket by just jumping out of the fight and stuff like that. And like utilizing those sort of plays where one could be the bait and one kills all the stuff, it kind of just like naturally happened for me and Kefri, where I shot a lot of people one game and I just like hard carried it, and the next game Kefri gets like 6 picks of mash, or like 6 picks of fight, which is like crazy. But like that would like swap, because if they try to hard contest me, that means the Widowmaker is completely free to just aim and shoot. And if they contest the Widowmaker, especially that. Like the headshots are harder to get, but it's really, really difficult for teams in rank to synergize. Like, okay, let's contest this mid-range Hanzo who's like pushing shield pressure damage out, and at the same time contest this like across the map backline Widowmaker hitting every shot. And then the next map, it's like, okay, let's contest this aggressively peeking Widowmaker at the same time as contesting this defensively peeling Hanzo. And it's like, you can't really do both. Like realistically, the best counter to Widowmaker is a better Widowmaker, and the best counter to Hanzo is like team play and not playing like peeking him and stuff. And in ranked, people have enough problems with one of them as it is, and double sniper works super well because you can just like confuse the enemy team, split up their teamwork, and just split up their compositions, playstyle in general, and just like get so much value.
Finally, where can people find some of the new Hanzo gameplay from yourself, and just any final plugs that you'd like to make for this video?
You know, if you want to watch some of the sick Hanzo gameplay, you can check out your favorite streamer at twitch.tv/Seagull, Mendokusaii. That's Mendokusaii. I'm sure it'll be in the description. My Twitter, Instagram, everything's the same. But really, check out like some of the other Hanzo streamers. Like Raxu is really good at Hanzo. I'm pretty sure like there are like a lot of like low viewer Hanzo streamers that are also very good, so you just check them out. And don't come watching my stream expecting my Hanzo playstyle to be the correct playstyle, but watch a lot of different Hanzo streamers and then form a playstyle of your own that you think is natural based on like what other good players do. And just be self-critical and then do your best to improve, and you're gonna become good at whatever character you want to play.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. You can check out all the Mendo stuff in the description below. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.